starting in Southern California, going through the state up to Nevada, and each town that they would stop, he had lined up an eligible and, more importantly, suitable young woman to introduce to Joe. First stop was Fresno, California, in beautiful downtown Fresburg, as I used to say. He cum laude and introduced Joe to this pretty young teenager, Rosemary. She lived with her family in a restaurant or a drinking establishment. You know, public space on the ground floor, living quarters on the upstairs. And the electricity was immediate. Dad says to cum laude, tear up the list. I'm gonna marry this girl. And the feeling seemed to be mutual. We were visiting in the backyard one afternoon, not too long after that, and Rosemary comes to Joe and says, "Aren't you going to ask me to sit on your lap?" Mom, you're such a hussy. And it knew no ends. The next thing, she didn't want the momentum to die when Dad came back to Southern California. So she says to her parents, "I'm going to send some roses." Not to Joe, to Joe's father. My grandfather was named Steve Dzida also. And Mom's parents advised against it. You know what's going to happen. All the Croatians throughout Southern California are going to be talking about you for the rest of your life. So naturally, Mom listened to her parents and ignored their advice entirely. So she sent these roses, beautiful red roses, to Steve Dzida here in the Los Angeles area. But being from beautiful downtown Fresburg, she didn't double check what she was doing. There was more than one Steve Dzida in the Los Angeles area at the time. And lo and behold, she sent these beautiful roses to the wrong Steve Dzida. And just as her parents had predicted, within no time, all of the Croatians in Southern California were talking about this woman who was sending roses to the wrong person. A few months later, they were married. They had no idea where they were going. They didn't know what they were doing or where they were going to live. But they knew they loved each other, and they trusted each other, and they jumped in with both feet. That's what I call impetuous. You know, we Catholics believe a lot of unbelievable things. We believe that God created this wonderful, astonishing world, that the Trinity loves so perfectly and so well that their love can't help but pour out and generate new life and new love all around. And we believe that God wants to have a personal relationship with each one of us. We also believe that the sacraments are special gifts from God that make God's presence known and that reveal God's presence among us. But did you ever stop to, we know baptism and the Eucharist and confirmation. Did you ever stop to think, well, why is it that marriage is a sacrament? Well, I think that marriage is a sacrament because it helps us believe that these unbelievable things that we believe can actually be so. It calls the married couple to love each other so well and so perfectly that their love will pour out and create new life and new love in everybody that they touch. Mom and Dad, I think, knew intuitively that that's what it meant to live their sacrament. Family secret. I'll bet there's a couple of you I know who know, but Mom once played third clarinet in the mighty Fresno Central High Band. Well, she might have been third clarinet, but she never played second fiddle to anybody. When it came to being wife and mother. I remember once I asked her, Mom, what's this gospel story about where Jesus says, if you want to enter the kingdom, you have to be like a little child? Does that mean I should be a spoiled brat? And she says, no. What that means is that to enter the kingdom, you need to trust God, just like little children trust their parents. And I kind of wondered about how was it possible to trust God like that? Well, then life went on, and we never, any of us, ever doubted that we were the number one priority in Mom and Dad's life. And that made it possible for us to trust them implicitly. And you know what? God has got to be at least as trustworthy as the most trustworthy among us. And so we can trust like little children trust their parents. I remember when us boys were in junior high and high school, Dad would come back from work, throw off his coat, grab the football, and we'd go out into the street and throw the football around. I'm telling you, Peyton Manning would love to have had his arm. I remember one day I was having a particularly hard time of it. And he pulled me over, he said, Steve, you know, I can throw the pass, but it's up to you to catch it. And that's a little bit of wisdom that has stuck with me ever since, because it applies in so many circumstances. Not the least of which is that God has given each of us so many blessings. You know, our family has received so many blessings. But it's up to us to accept them and in gratitude to make something out of them. In the early 60s, it became necessary for my great-grandmother, who we called Stada Mama, she was in a couple of the pictures here that we saw, to come and live with us in our house in Torrance. Mom and Dad, 5 kids, 1 great-grandmother, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Yeah. So I asked him, I said, why are we doing this? Mom and Dad gave up their bedroom to Star Mama and to Mary, who was 3 or so at the time. And they slept on a fold-out couch in the living room. Why are we doing this? And they just said, that's how we do in our family. I remember back in the day, when somebody in our crowd was moving their home from one place to another, Dad would come home from work, change his clothes, grab the truck, 1 or more of us, and go to help with the move. It seemed like that happened all the time. You know, of course, I'm a teenager at the time. I have a different perspective about things. I just wondered what that was all about. And I asked Dad, what is that all about? And he just looked at me with that look that I know said, that's how we do in our family. And we came to learn that family was a much bigger idea than just us. So it was not surprising to me that when we moved from our house in Torrance to our house in Gardena, I came home from school one day and there was already half a dozen guys there with their pickup trucks and they were loading and packing even before Dad got home from work. Because that's how we do in our family. So today we're celebrating 70 years of love, 70 years of marriage, 70 years of living your sacrament. They have loved each other so well and so perfectly that their love pours out and makes new love and new life happen everywhere that they go. They couldn't help themselves. And so here we are. Mom and Dad, look around the room. Look at what you have done. You have loved so well and so perfectly. You couldn't help yourself. Because you trusted God and you loved each other, look what's happened. May God bless you and continue to bless you in all the years you have remaining. So ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud. I am so proud to present 70 years married and still newlyweds. Our mom and dad, our Baba and our Nana and Dedo, our Baba and Stadi Dedo, our aunt and uncle, and our dear friends, Joe and Rosemary Dzida.